Today I want to talk about why men still feel stuck after deciding to change. What if the problem isn't necessarily the decision, but it's the micro decisions that follow the decision? My name is Marcus Timmons, and I help men become emotionally healthy so they can show up better at work, in relationships, and in life. Let's get to it. Men don't stay stuck because they didn't decide to change. They stay stuck because their daily micro decisions don't align with that decision. In other words, the small decisions do not align, your small decisions that you have to make daily do not align with the big decision you already made. And what I mean by that is, and simply, your daily decisions are missing alignment with the big decision. So you have this big decision here. This is I decided that I'm going to heal, right? But you have the daily decisions. In order to get to the healing, there's that daily work that you have to the healing's here, right? But there's that daily work that you got to put in order to get there, right? The problem is that the decisions that we make on a daily basis are not allowing us to get here to the goal, to the end result. So that looks like you decided to heal, but you won't open up about your pain. You decided to work on the marriage, but yet you still lead out of fear. You decided to break the addiction, but you still stay in the same environments. You decided to grow spiritually, but you still numb out every night. You veg out. You doom scroll, right? So I want to talk about 3 ways to stop being stuck. I want to help somebody to stop being stuck. 2026 is the year for the man to get unstuck. And I want to help somebody stop being stuck. And these are just some notes I just wrote down, and I just want to just kind of share 3 things to stop being stuck. This is just raw, unfiltered, unscripted conversations. I just got 3 notes for you, and 3 things I want to give you real quick, and I pray that they bless you. Okay, the first thing I want you to stop feeding the old version. Stop feeding the old version. When you feed the old version, that means you continuously keep doing or keep allowing the same old habits to become more important than the decision that you've made. So you keep the same habits, and if you keep the same habits, you will keep the same outcomes. So if you're going to stop feeding the old version, that means you have to change your habits. Really, that's really what I'm trying to say, is that if you're going to stop feeding the old version of you, you're going to have to start showing up differently. I'm teaching my church. I started a series at my church entitled Red Flags, Identifying or Breaking Unhealthy Patterns. And the first week, this past week, we talked about seeing the red flags. And my argument was that what if the red flags isn't necessarily with somebody else? What if we are the red flags, right? And if we're going to break unhealthy relational patterns, what if there are some things within us that we need to break, some habits, some patterns, some things that we need to deal with on our own before we can point the finger at everybody else? What are some things that we might need to break, some habits we might need to break, right? If you're tired of coming home to the same old mess, to the same old drama, maybe instead of pointing the finger at your wife, why don't we pause for a moment and say, well, how can I show up differently? I'm not excusing your wife's behavior. Maybe she fusses a lot. I'm not saying, maybe she, does her, she got her stuff too. I'm not excusing our wife's behavior, but what I'm saying is that maybe that if we want something different in the home, maybe we start by showing up differently. We cannot continue to feed the old version of us and still expect the new one to grow. So there's some things that have to change. There's some habits or some patterns that maybe when you get home, instead of kicking off your shoes and vegging out and playing your video games, maybe you see your wife, trying to deal with the kids. You see your wife trying to deal with, wash the dishes or whatever. Maybe you step in and say, hey, let me get that for you real quick, right? Because if you want different outcomes, you have to start by doing something different. Maybe if you want a promotion at your job, maybe you got to start showing up differently, right? You can't keep coming in 5 minutes late. You can't keep having the same attitude. Your habits have to change, okay? So if the old version of you is still eating, the new version of you cannot grow, okay? Number two, I want you to embrace discomfort instead of interpreting it. Embrace discomfort instead of interpreting it. I need you to understand that growth requires discomfort. That if you are going to grow, if you're going to heal, if your marriage is going to be restored, if you are going to come out of debt, it's going to require some discomfort. Growth is uncomfortable. I have a 5-year-old and she's growing. I'm short and she's like literally almost as tall as me. I don't know where she gets the height from. And clearly her mama's side. And sometimes she'll complain about her leg hurting or her hips hurting, and I know it's just growing pain. So I'm able to tell her, I say, oh baby, you'll be okay. I know you'll be okay because she's just growing, right? Because growing is uncomfortable. Growth is uncomfortable. But listen to me, that just because it's uncomfortable doesn't mean it's not necessary. That sometimes that God, he works in the uncomfortable. It is in those moments when we are uncomfortable, when the pressure is on, that's when we can really show what we're made of. And so embrace discomfort instead of interpreting. Discomfort, it's not always, it's not a sign that you're doing something wrong. Sometimes discomfort is a sign that you might be doing something right. So discomfort doesn't mean danger, and sometimes it's just unfamiliar, right? So I encourage you, don't quit just because something feels uncomfortable, because if you quit every time something feels uncomfortable, you'll never grow into something new. So you have to learn how to embrace discomfort. Getting on this camera, moment of transparency, is uncomfortable for me. But I do know that God has given me something from my own lived out experience to be able to share and help somebody, but this is uncomfortable for me to talk for 10, 15, 20 minutes into a camera. This is uncomfortable for me. But I understand that if I'm going to grow in this journey of trying to help people, then I have to embrace this season of discomfort. And so don't quit just because it feels uncomfortable, because you'll never grow into something new. Number three, you have to stop letting fear drive your decisions. This is an important one. Fear has a way of showing up in over-explaining, right? Overreacting, seeking reassurance, okay? And you have to get to a place where you no longer are going to, I'm not saying, you're no longer going to allow fear to continue to drive your decisions. You're not going to allow fear to keep you from healing, because that fear of what are they going to think about me? What are they, in her book, Mel Robbins' book, Let Them Theory, let them think any way they want to think about you, and you still move on with your healing. Because at the end of the day, while they have their opinions, you're growing, right? You're trying to move forward. You're trying to get somewhere with your life, right? You're trying to heal your marriage. So don't let that fear of disappointment, don't let that fear of rejection, don't let that fear of hurt or abandonment keep you from making the decisions that you know you need to make to better yourself, to better your marriage, to better your life, right? Don't let that don't let that stop you. The scripture says, the word says, Paul told Timothy, God did not give us a spirit of fear, but of love, power, and of a sound mind, right? So when fear screams loud, check it. When fear screams loud, check it. Because if you don't check it, it will drive. If you don't check fear, it will drive. All right? So let me give you 3 ways, real quick, some practical things you can take home with you, real quick. The first thing, because I want you to get some value from this, the first thing I want you to do is I want you to align. That the reason why you feel stuck, we may feel stuck, is because we're not in alignment. Like I said earlier, like your decision, the big decision, you made that decision to heal, you made that decision to work for the promotion, you made that decision to fix the marriage or to, to stick in the marriage. You made that decision. That's the choice you made. Now, right, you have to align all your other decisions, the micro decisions, the ones that are under that decision, you have to align that with the big decision, right? But if your decision that you made here to do well, to do better, is over here, and the other decisions are over here, right? They're not aligned, right? So you have to align your decision that every day you wake up, you have to wake up with the posture of, this is my decision, and everything I do today has to come into agreement with that thing. That's really what alignment is. That's a word that I've been using in my church and really throughout this year already, is that word alignment, because it just means simply being on the same page. Is your decision on the same page as your other decisions, right? So be on the same page. You don't need motivation. You need alignment. You don't need another motivational video. You need alignment. You need to get into alignment. Get on the same page. If you know that you want to, have better morning routines, then therefore your decisions need to align with that better, so you can get the outcome that you're looking for. All right. Number 2, I want you to pause. Learn how to slow down and stop reacting. Learn how to slow down and stop reacting. It's okay to allow your emotions to settle. I'm talking to men and I need you to hear me. It's okay to allow your emotions to settle. It's okay to feel. Slow down long enough to feel, to understand what it is you're feeling. Don't allow your feelings to dictate your decisions. Don't allow fear, right, to dictate your decisions. That's a feeling. Fear is a feeling. Don't allow it to dictate your decision. But I want you to slow down long enough. Pause. Slow down long enough. I'm trying to help somebody get unstuck here. Pause long enough so you can steady yourself while you grow. Okay? Get steady. And number 3, I want you to choose. I want you to ask yourself, is this fear or is this the man I'm becoming? I want you to not only ask, but I want you to choose. I want you to choose calm. I want you to choose restraint. I want you to choose leadership. I want you to choose. It all goes back to alignment. I want you to choose, right? I want you to choose. You have to choose. You have to choose. Are you going to be led by fear, or are you going to be the man you're trying to be, right? Are you going to choose calm, or are you going to choose chaos, right? You're going to choose restraint, or are you just going to cuss everybody out? Like, you have to choose, all right? So listen, you do not need a new decision. You don't need some more answers. You need alignment. At the end of the day, the reason why you're stuck at the core of all of it is because you're out. Your micro decisions are not aligned with your big decisions. That means that you have daily moments or daily movements. Every day you should be moving the needle forward. And the question becomes is, what are you doing that's not moving the needle forward? All right? Hey, if this conversation resonated with you, this is exactly the type of work we do inside my Grounded Man Intensive, which is a private 5-day one-on-one experience where I help men become grounded, clear, and self-led in the middle of marriage pressure, separation, career shifts, and major life transitions using my Grounded Man framework. And by the end of the 5 days, you'll have emotional stability, mental clarity, and a clear next step. Regardless of whether your situation changes or not, you can get better. So if that's something that you are interested in, I want you to DM me the word grounded, or click the link in the description or pinned comment, or in the pinned comment to book your spot. Limited spots are available. Until next time, stay grounded.